In today's Take of the Day, I want to talk about Serge Ibaka for the Clippers and what we should expect from him this upcoming season. Now, before we get into that, though, please like, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. We put out content every day, so you won't miss any content here. Now, let's go ahead and jump into this. I've said before, one of the value pieces for the Clippers is Serge Ibaka. And I say that with purpose because when I look at Serge Ibaka, I look at his overall career, I look at how he's affected teams in such good ways. It's been really underrated. Even when you look at him in OKC, when he was with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, he actually helped them elevate to a championship type team. Because even though they had so much offense with those three offensive weapons, they also had defense with Serge Ibaka and Nick Collison. And Serge Ibaka was like Defensive Player of the Year, I think, back then, or he was definitely a candidate, bare minimum. And on top of that, he was really, really a great shot blocker. And of course, we know Serge Ibaka is not that now, but more so what he can be now is what we saw a couple of years ago in Toronto. Now, Toronto, he was more of a role player in regards to spacing the floor and being a rim protector at the rim. Now, when he was in OKC, of course, he can do a little bit of both, but I don't think he was as good of a shooter as he is now when he was on OKC, even though he put up some decent points at times, but he wasn't as good as a shooter I think he is now. So my point is, when you look at him with the Clippers, he can give the Clippers the same thing what he gave to Toronto. And a little bit of what he gave to OKC, because there again, he is a big body. There again, he can control the paint, and he may not be the shot blocker he used to be, but he's still a formidable big man who has a presence in the paint, and a lot of people still respect Serge Ibaka because of who he always has been, which is Ibaka, Surge Protector. That's always been his nickname, so it's like he's always lived up to that to me. But when you add the fact that he can step out from 17 feet and knock down threes, now the Clippers become more of a dangerous weapon, and he is the piece that I've always said since he came to the Clippers because of Kawhi Leonard, of course. He was the piece that I said that would actually help them win a championship, will be a big part of them winning a championship, because when you have a big man like him who's very versatile and who's very respected in the league because of his versatility, he makes it hard for others who he's guarding. Like hypothetically, if the Clippers played Denver, which they did a couple of seasons ago in the bubble, and they had somebody like Serge Ibaka, it would have made it would have made a world of difference, because Serge Ibaka can move his feet. He's a lot better defender, and he could have bothered Jokic in ways that other players can't. Only because Serge Ibaka can move his feet really well, and plus he will make Jokic play defense as well, because Serge Ibaka can get 17 points a game if he chooses to. And he can knock down threes, he can knock down 18-footers, and he's a pretty good free throw shooter too. So it would have put so much more pressure on Jokic to play on the defensive end. He wouldn't have been that deadly on the offensive end, and the Clippers would have definitely escaped that series and went on and played the Lakers in the conference finals that year. So it's players like that who make teams elevate their game and their thought process on the floor, because you have a big man who really can make things difficult for the opposing team. And to be quite honest, Serge Ibaka, he doesn't. He's not the greatest of passers, but one thing I've always noticed about his game, when he's in the post and he's getting ready to maybe turn around for the 17-foot jumper or something like that, because he is a decent shooter from 17 feet and in, a lot of times he will draw a double team, or if he gets one-on-one coverage, he'll go after the defender. But every now and then when a double team comes his way, or when somebody tries to pick the ball from him, he will pass it back out to the wing and find a wide open shooter, and which is a very underrated part of his game. So it's like, to me, when you have a piece like him, not only you're bringing championship value, but you're bringing somebody who has a high basketball IQ. And I always thought Serge Ibaka had a high basketball IQ just by the way he carries himself on the court and what he can do defensively. And I've seen situations where he when he was on Toronto, he showed some of his defensive prowess of earlier days when he was in OKC. But I also saw a guy not only stretching the floor, but making the right plays when necessary, taking charges, things like that. I've seen Serge Ibaka do so many things, so many little things for a team that can actually help them get over the hump and actually, win more games and become more of a successful story. It's more of a successful team just because the little things, the intangibles that he knows. And when you add him with this Clippers team, the way they are and the way they're currently constructed, I'm telling you, he is the piece that they needed in this past year's postseason. Because if he was, I guarantee you, I truly believe if Serge Ibaka played this past postseason with the Clippers, they wouldn't have been down 0-2 every series. I can almost guarantee you that because, like I said, it changes the dynamic of how you come at the Clippers with a versatile big man like that. Because he can step out and shoot, because he's a knockdown shooter, because he can knock down free throws, and he is a body in the paint where you have to watch him in regards to him being a shot blocker, which he's always been known for. It makes the Clippers a different type team. It makes them more defensive minded. And especially you add him with a Paul George and with Kawhi Leonard, them two wings on the on the perimeter, the way they defend. Now, if you get around one of them, you have to go in the paint and see Serge Ibaka standing there waiting to get the block, or Zubac on the other side of him, Serge Ibaka, waiting to get a block. It makes the Clippers more dangerous. It makes them more of a team where it's like, wow, now you really got to defend them in all phases. So hypothetically, let's say their lineup is Reggie Jackson, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Marcus Morris, Serge Ibaka. That is a deadly lineup. You know why? Because everybody I just named on the floor, they can't defend because Reggie Jackson can't defend and things like that. But what they can do, they can knock down shots and they can play the game from a different perspective because they know they have good help. Like Reggie Jackson, he can't defend like Kawhi and PG. But the one thing he can do, if you get around Reggie Jackson, he will try to play you hard on defense. Reggie Jackson is tough on defense. He'll try to play you hard on defense, even though he's not good at it. But it really wouldn't matter because if his defender gets around him, if he tries to drive to the paint, well, Serge Ibaka's waiting right there. And it just alters a lot of decisions from players who try to go at Serge Ibaka because of his presence and people know what he's known for. It just changes the dynamic of who they are. And then if you look at this also, the lineup I just named, Reggie Jackson, Kawhi Leonard, Paul Pierce, Marcus Morris, and Serge Ibaka, all of them can shoot. Every one of them can shoot, knock down jump shots, knock down shooters. Every one of them could shoot. So your big man who's actually in the paint as a shot blocker, if we're on a fast break and it comes down to it, Serge Ibaka can step into a three and knock it down pretty effectively. That's your big man on the floor. And that's what I'm saying. When you look at a lineup like that, how many teams are going to contend with that? It's not going to be many. Because now, like I said, the dynamic of playing the Clippers is a whole lot different. You're not going to see Zubac as much. Because Serge Ibaka can move his feet better, he's a better defender, and he's a way better shooter than Zubac is. Zubac will be the backup to Serge Ibaka, and now with Serge Ibaka sitting down, only thing Zubac will have to do is come in there, roll to the basket the way he does, how Kawhi Leonard and PG finds him on a lot of pick and rolls, cutting straight to the basket, getting extra rebounds, crashing the boards. He doesn't really have to worry about being put more into a scoring role of putting up points because Serge Ibaka takes care of that. Plus, he's a good defender, too. And you know there's going to be times where Ty Lue is going to have both of them on the floor together. Now, that's like the Twin Towers. You're not going in the paint like that. You're going to second guess going in the paint. And if that's the case with Kawhi and PG as perimeter defenders and you're settling for jump shots, well, now the Clippers are just a different dynamic, even more different than what they were last year. Now, of course, Kawhi Leonard has to come back, has to be healthy, all that stuff. But under the notion of, just with Kawhi Leonard being Kawhi, he's a tough guy. I believe he will come back and be 100% how he was. And if he is, I'm telling you, with Serge Ibaka, it's going to be really hard to beat this team if Serge can stay healthy. Now, what I really expect from Serge Ibaka, I would say, so last year he played 41 games. He averaged like 11 points and maybe like 5 or 6 rebounds. He didn't really play that much, and, he really just wasn't in rhythm to me. But I expect this year, especially with Kawhi Leonard being out, I expect his numbers to rise somewhere between 16 or 17 points a game with maybe 9 or 10 rebounds. Somewhere around, his basically somewhat like his career average or something like that. I expect Serge Ibaka to be Serge, and make an impact on this team, because if he does, I'm telling you, they're going to be a lot better than what people think. And when they add Kawhi Leonard back to this mix, I don't care if it's the Lakers, the Phoenix Suns, whoever it is in the West, the Denver Nuggets, you're going to have a fight on your hands, because now you're facing a team that really has no flaws. First of all, like I said, if their starting lineup is Reggie Jackson, Kawhi, PG, Marcus Morris, and Serge Ibaka, well, damn, now you got to sit there and worry about their bench. So you got Zubac coming in as the backup, maybe with DeMarcus Cousins. Then you got to worry about Terrence Mann. Then Luke Kennard, came into his own last season. He's confident. It's like they got some pieces there that can really hurt you. And like I said, their depth is insane as a team. And with that type of depth, you're really going to have a hard time trying to go at them with any type of scheme, because it's almost like they're built for any type of situation. Think about it. They were down 0-2 every series last year, and they found themselves out of all them series coming out as the victor. The only one they didn't find themselves come out of was the Phoenix Suns, because they lost Kawhi Leonard. But everybody knows if Kawhi stays healthy, they're in the finals. And this is what I'm saying. They were doing all that without Serge Ibaka, without somebody who is that versatile, without a player who can stretch the floor the way Serge Ibaka can and play both sides of the floor, defense and offense. They did that without him. So you add him to that, they're not down 0-2 every series. A lot of them series, they're up 2-0. Because if Luka, like hypothetically, Luka can't drive to the basket and do what he want to do and find those unknown name players on Dallas going to the basket getting easy buckets with Serge Ibaka in there, it's not going to happen. Serge Ibaka is going to contest a lot, and he's going to make the opposing team figure out what they need to do or second guess themselves on offense. And when you're doing that, when you turn a team into a strict jump shooting team where they're not getting to the basket, well, in a 7-game series, they only wear down after a while. Some of them shots don't start falling. And when that happens, you could win the series. This is the reason why I said with Serge Ibaka, they're not down 0-2. They're not down 0-2 against the Utah Jazz, because like I said, now Donovan Mitchell can't go to the paint as easily with Serge Ibaka in there. It just makes Donovan Mitchell more of a shooter. It makes him more one-dimensional, just like it makes everybody else on the team more like one-dimensional. So like I said, the dynamic of Serge Ibaka is very huge for this team, and I think that Clippers fans will definitely understand his value to the team once they see him play. And pending on if he stays healthy, I really hope he does, because I've always liked Serge Ibaka. I always liked his game. I always liked his IQ for the game, and he sees it from a different angle. And I like the way he's always been, able to play both sides of the floor. He can block shots, play defense. He can move his feet. You know what I'm saying? He would give somebody like Jokic problems. Like I said earlier in this video, he would give a lot of big men problems, because first of all, a lot of big men can't score the way he can. And second of all, like I said, he's a really good defender. He can move his feet real well. And like I said, he's crafty how he does certain things on the floor in regards to his tactics and how he approaches the game. And I always love that about Serge Ibaka. And I just love his versatility. And I think that's what Kawhi Leonard always loved about him, because of his versatility. That's why he wanted him on Toronto. That's why he wanted him on the Clippers. Now, the thing you do is find a way to get Marc Gasol away from the Lakers and pick Marc Gasol up, and now you damn near have the Toronto Raptors 2.0, because you get somebody like Marc Gasol in there, well, it makes a whole lot more difference too. But that's another story for another day. That's a hypothetical. But like I said, this is what we should expect from Serge Ibaka. Maybe 16, 17 points with 9 rebounds, give or take, is what we should expect from him, because I think he's definitely good enough to do that. And we also should expect that he be healthy as well. He's been out about a year or so. So hopefully his back is good enough to go and Clippers can make a run. But hey, that's my take on the situation. Let me know what you think in the comment section as always. And hey, Cali out.